Everyone, thank you so much for coming this morning and giving me the opportunity to speak with Paige and share her story and her family's journey in farming. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and then I will introduce Paige. Once again, I'm Zephrine Hanson. I am the owner of Hampden Farms. We are a micro farm in Denver, Colorado, ran by my husband and 3 children. I also harvest lavender at Denver Botanic Gardens, along with the Veterans to Farmers program. And so my focus in farming is food security through community wealth building. Making farming profitable is what I think about all the time so that we can do what we need to do in farming and have thriving wages. And actually that makes farming sustainable. So that's what my focus is. And also I came to farming through healing. So I am a veteran, and I also was fortunate enough to meet not only Paige, but her husband, Derek, through another veteran program, Bunker Labs. And so when when WFAN sponsored this opportunity, I definitely knew that I wanted to talk to Paige and hear more about her story and share more about her family story. And so I'm gonna just a little bit, and I'm gonna let Paige tell you everything about them. But they're in North Carolina. Their farm is Grazed, and there is so much to Paige, but she keeps everything looking beautiful on top of like their storytelling and documenting, and also their 5 beautiful children, and just is very authentic in their journey and their being first generation farmers. So everybody, I'd love to welcome Paige.
Hey. Okay, so my name is Paige Jackson, and I know we kind of talked about this briefly, but yes, my husband and I are now going into our 2nd year of farming. We have 5 kids, and my husband used to be in the military, so I'm a prior military spouse. I don't know, I feel like you should kind of earn a badge. Like once you're a military spouse, you're always a military spouse. So I should probably just say a military spouse. Yeah, so we are farming out in North Durham, and we raise grass-grazed beef, pastured pork, and pastured chicken. We haven't added anything else to the mix, but who knows what this next year will bring. Yeah, so my background before doing this, I used to be a marketing coordinator, and so that kind of really catapulted, I think, a lot of things in terms of just kind of putting pieces together. But this is still been an exciting venture going into farming because farming is an industry like none other. So yeah, that's a little bit more about me.
So Paige, you and I got to have a really great conversation about our whys in farming, and what brought us to farming, and what were like the 3 small or one big thing that brought you to farming.
Yeah, so I think it's funny that you say what brought me to farming, because our story is really interesting. I don't I don't know if anybody knows our story, but my husband, he was in the military, and so we were kind of at this point in our lives where we realized, hey, we got to make a change, because the deployments are just affecting us. You're missing a lot of time. At one point, he had, in the military, there's this term that they call pillow time, and he had exceeded like the pillow time of like everyone in his company, because he had been gone like away from the pillow so much that they were like, this is insane, you've like doubled pillow time more than anybody else. So yeah, I think we both were at a point where we were searching for something more. We at that time we didn't realize that farming was what we were searching for. So it was kind of a culmination of things, like wanting to be able to have a life that we had more control over in like our schedules, because I think that in the military you're very used to like, this is what you have to do and these are the things that you have to get done. But like I think having more control over saying like, hey, like this is the life that we want to live and these are the decisions that we want to make, really kind of empowered us to go down this path. But yeah, I always say like the farming life kind of chose me because my husband just one day just like bought chickens and was like, we're doing it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. But you know, when I really looked at the big picture of it all, farming, I don't know if I could see us doing anything else because this really has given us that freedom. And, you know, whether it's like making these choices about what we're eating and what we're doing and supporting our family as entrepreneurs. So that was a lot. I loaded a lot in there, but
but I love that. I think that's many people who come to farming. It ends up like it kind of just shows up in their life. I was the person who brought, farming and was like, this is what I'm doing. My husband was like, oh, okay, we'll try it. And I definitely see it as a calling. It is not what I imagined for myself. And then once I did get into farming, I of course imagined the like very romantic version of it. I didn't imagine grants and policy. I did not, none of that was, on my list. So I love just the story of like it calling you, and then also the opportunity to provide for your family. Like I said, we also have 3 children. They are ages 13 to 11. And so being able to educate them and in a way that made sense for us, and a schedule, just like there was this freedom, and also I think, that being prior military, it was such a different, exposure from our life of like having to be somewhere at someone else's time and then having farming. So yeah, that was absolutely. So how is it to farm with 5 children, Paige? Like what is the highs and what are the bit of the challenges?
Okay. So I love my kids. They all have different personalities. So I feel like I have to like start with that. Like I love them. They're amazing. But to say that it has been easy doing this is a lie. And, I feel like it's funny because you see like all of these like, and I'm just going to the garden and doing these fun things with my kids and we're feeding the chickens together and collecting eggs. But they break half of the eggs when you collect the eggs with them. It never fails. But because we practice zero waste, it's okay because the pigs end up eating those eggs. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, man, like there's such a balance in trying to find this like, hey, teaching, like you're constantly teaching. I'm always teaching kids. And I think so there's a scripture in the book of Deuteronomy that talks about how like when you teach your kids, you should teach your kids when they're sleeping, when they're walking, when they're eating, when they're, whatever they're doing. And so one of the things that I love about that is it's really focusing on teaching your children in a time of dormant, like at a time when it's just like, this is just our way of life. And so I think that with, farming with kids, it's kind of this ever evolving thing where I am always challenged in ways to teach my kids and be a part of what I'm doing. Right. So where, and I've had to talk to my husband about this because he'll say, it's so much easier if I just do this without them. Like I can do it so much faster. I can get this done. And I don't like, it's more productive when they're not here. But then I always have to remember, but that's how we're doing this. Like we're doing this because this is an opportunity for us to teach our kids how to live, like, and how to have responsibility. And even though it is challenging, and I don't want to sugarcoat that at all, because it is challenging. Every time they break an egg, I think like, oh, that's not gonna make a dozen of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but eventually those broken eggs will turn into dollars. And we just really have to, bear with them in the process. And they're bearing with me. We're first time farmers. So there was a lot of things that I don't know. And what I'm seeing in all of this is, or this process, I feel like I'm seeing my kids develop more confidence in, like, whether it's like, hey mom, like I have an idea. So for example, I helped a local farmer with like milking cows, and my son came to help me, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be cool, like you can help me, I don't know anything about this, we're gonna learn this together. And and he was, and this lady, she's an older farmer, and so she's very much like, set in her ways, like this is how you got to do it. And after the fact, she was like, I noticed that when your son, when he tells you that he has an idea, you stop and you listen to him. She was like, I'm so stuck in my ways, I don't have to do that anymore. She's like, but I really do appreciate that, like seeing you do that, because she's like, that's a good trait to have, as a parent. Because, and it's like, I think as parents, we sometimes feel like no one can, like we know everything. Like I don't know everything. So yeah, like it's my kids are teaching me, I'm teaching them. And there's really this level of like responsibility that's developing, and accountability, even though it is so messy. It is literally messy. Every day it's messy. It is good. Like it is so, so good.
So that I love like that super authentic and truthful answer. Yes, it is challenging. It is messy. We have that conversation here also. It's just easier if we do it sometimes. And then, but we're not teaching them. And especially as like homeschool parents, what my husband and I realized was like, well, if they don't know something and we're the teachers, I'm just saying this might be us, right? So there's been some reflection, in us being rigid in ourselves of like, you got to hurry up and learn how to do this. But no, that isn't why we're, out here farming. That is not, when they plant, sometimes stuff is too deep and I don't know what's going on with that, you know what I'm saying? Or things have been overwatered, or whatever. But it is that, once again, that opportunity to give them something that I believe is going to last a lifetime. And that is, learning, watching us build this farm, watching us build this business. And so yes, but it is messy. That is for sure. Like that, that part. Yeah, I feel like farming and motherhood is not for the faint of heart at all in that aspect. So
it's not. And I think sometimes people try to, paint this picture like it is this just, my kids are so obedient and they listen to me every time that I walk out the door, and the chickens, I mean, it's like, that's not real. Like I have to tell my son like to stop chasing the chickens sometimes, because he's like antagonizing them. But no, I mean, I think that kids, this is a whole topic in itself. Like I feel like kids today, I'm trying to act like I'm so old. When we moved to the farm, I realized that my kids didn't know how to play. Like I saw that they didn't know how to play. Like they lacked like, using their imagination and just like getting lost outside. Cause when I grew up, I remember like, that was like what I did. I was like, my mom would just be like, go outside, don't come back in here, Yeah. Like don't go inside. And unless you need water, like don't even then she would put like water cups on the porch. So we really weren't even coming inside. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you just go play.
Stay there.
Yeah, stay there. And when we first moved to the farm, I felt like my kids, they didn't really know how to do that. It was like, why are you doing this to me? I don't want to be. And I'm like, because you need to learn how to be outside. You need to.
That's a thing.
You get lost, use your imagination, play in mud, go crazy. I really don't care. Just don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, do what you need to do. And yeah, like I think kids need to develop that love for nature, and just like, because I think that that's lacking in a lot of ways. And it's so powerful when kids can see like, hey, like I can use my imagination, and I can, I think that creates a more confident person, in my opinion.
It makes well-rounded people to be able to, so many things that we take for granted that just were, in our going outside, being outside. Even sometimes I'm like, I have to go outside for the kids to come outside. And then they stay out there for a while, right? Then like they're just out there and I come back in the house. But if I'm trying to get them to go play, they're like, is it iPad time? I was like, no, it's not iPad time. It is outside time. That's the time it is. So,
but they follow you though. And I've
right.
noticed that, like, they will follow your lead. So when I make a big deal about, you know, whatever it is, like checking the pigs or, you know, whatever, it's like, this is a big deal because this is a big deal to mom. And so yeah, I think it's just kind of opening up doors that may have been shut off had we continued to, you know, live a different lifestyle.
In your, as you and Derek have grown this farm, like, have there been any, you know, farm groups, organizations, like farm friends make this move, or, you know, taking those texts that are like, oh my goodness, I'm killing everything, but you're not there, you know, you're just worried. I mean, have you been able to have like a community support system in farming?
So I would say that the Farmer Veteran Coalition, we received a
Okay.
grant from them, and like that was a huge help for us.
Okay.
These chicken tractors, actually, we paid for them with that grant. So, but in general, I would say that the farming veteran community has
Mhm.
really been a huge support to us as farmers. My husband will always say, you know, there's regular farmers and then there's veteran farmers, and we're not the same. It's like, really? You know, but I see that though. I really do. I think that when you come from a military background, you just see things differently. And even in your drive, even in your determination, like, and just saying like, I gotta, what is it, get her done? That's like real
Yeah.
country. I mean, it's very much a like, I just need to do this. And there's a difference. Like there is a difference. So I would say that's probably the biggest community that we've, you know, pulled from and kind of gleaned from. I mean, there have been some other relationships that we've established with other local farmers, but the veteran community has been phenomenal.
Has been, yeah. I mean, that's how I even came like to farming. Like I said, it was Veterans to Farmers. I wouldn't have even found it had I not like been to a wellness program for some other veterans, and they were doing all this stuff, and one of them was like, hey, have you thought about chickens? And I was like, you are crazy. No, I have not thought about chickens. This is a very strange conversation. I don't like, you know, but, you know, he introduced me to Veterans to Farmers. And then of course, you know, that opened doors. And, you know, my experience has been that and it's why I really love the farm community, is that each intersection of farming that I'm a part of, whether it is veteran farmers or Black and Brown Growers Collective, women farmers, like each one has a different way of doing it. And I absolutely appreciate it. Like the veterans, like things can literally be on fire and they're like, we're going to harvest everything. We don't care. Like they're going to somehow get everything in no matter what's going on. Yeah. And we'll call other veterans. Like that was when my lavender needed to get harvested. I had veterans and they were getting their college kids. They were like, Zephrine, like our college kids are sitting at home. They'll be fine. They can come help you. Right. Like, so it was this different, kind of like, I think it's like, I call it deployment energy. Like if you, you know, if you've gotten everything ready to go before, then you it is, I will say it is one of the positives I have taken from my military career. And then I am like always amazed at what I learn from the communities who've been doing the work for like years and years and are just getting shine right now, right? Like people are just going like, oh, wow. And I'm like, they've been doing this work and doing policy and like, you know, fighting for cottage food rights. Like I didn't even know that like certain states didn't have that. So it has been like such a fantastic like experience to, you know, get to know other farmers. And like I said, for me, that's how I got to meet you and Derek. Like you know, Liz was like, oh, you've got to meet them. And I was like, okay, if you say so, sure, I'll do an email. And so that has been, you know, for me, absolutely this farm community. And matter of fact, it was the gardens that introduced me to Women Food and Ag Network. So that was how it continues, to come full circle, and meet like so many more women, which I'm so excited. I was like, I didn't know there were so many of us out here. I felt like we were all just like by ourselves. And then like, no, we're just needing to get connected. So any chance that I can be a part of that, I'm grateful. So let's see. So Paige, what is well, I know, so part of it is I know a little bit about your guys' business. So like, how did you guys come up with how you distribute your meat and how you, and I'm sorry, we may have skipped that they are meat producers. So if you want, did we cover that you guys have pigs, chickens?
Yeah.
So how did you guys come up with kind of your marketing plan and how you distribute your products?
Yeah. So I'm gonna try not to make this like a class, but I have worked for various companies, and when you're starting a business, you always want to kind of like do out your mapping, like your branding, and say like, hey, like who's my target audience and what's this going to look like in light of like how I'm going to get their products in their hands. And I think that I am a millennial. I don't like to like wear that badge proud, like I'm a millennial, but I am a millennial. And one of the things that we saw was like a lot of farmers we're still kind of doing things in a very traditional way in terms of like just going to the farmer's market, or like expecting for people to come to the farm. And the reality is that that's not going to pay the bills. Like it's not, like this is what we do full time. So I don't have another job supporting the farm, and neither does my husband. Like this is what we do all day, every day. So knowing that, it was kind of like, okay, so how are we gonna now do this? And then COVID came, right? And so at that point, I realized, okay, so we need to figure out how to ship our products, and we need to learn how to ship our products real fast. So I took a course with Bob Mary's Farm, which is fantastic. They have like a marketing course. And I already knew a lot of the things that were offered in that class, but one of the things that I didn't know was how to ship perishable products. And that I rave about that class all the time. I mean, I take a lot of classes, like even now, like I'm typically always learning or studying something or reading something. And I think that's just the nature of being an entrepreneur. You're constantly learning. So anyway, so I took this course on perishable shipping, and like, you don't know what you don't know. And that really helped us to be able to say with confidence, like, okay, I can ship this product that we took all of this time raising, and I can ship this knowing that it's going to make it in good condition, and that it's not going to be a risk at the farm, up to the farm. So like doing that, investing in education to do that was really, I think, awesome. Because again, like one of the things that I think a lot of farmers need to realize is that we are in a new time where even though some people will come to your farm and will visit, we really have to shift in terms of making things more accessible for people who love your brand, who love your story, but just, whether it was COVID restrictions or whatnot, just really needing to, expand in that way of like, and now we will offer this to your door. So we also do like local deliveries too, but we're really trying to focus more on our online shipping because it just seems to be like what everyone is interested in now.
I mean, no, I love that. But look, we've all had to pivot. I, sent you a picture of the prototype of like our lavender wellness box. And that was actually inspired by looking at your site. I was like, okay, what are my other farm friends doing in order, to shift? And, because of COVID, we weren't going to have people coming to the farm for lavender or having micro events at our home. And so what people were really interested in were that box. Every time I started talking about it, that, they were like, well, how can you get it to me here? And I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to go, even though in my mind, you know, I had this very romantic, like lavender, everybody's going to skip through the fields all the time.
Yeah.
And that, you know, what people are more interested in is getting that and an opportunity, you know, to have a wellness moment, you know, in a box. So,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
So,
I
and I
love
guess to
that.
kind of to add to that, like how when I said in the beginning, you know, I did the whole like, who's my audience? Who is, you know, like who am I trying to market to? And everyone should do this. So if anyone's on this call and you're a farmer, I want to encourage you to do this. I realized like, okay, I'm marketing to me. Like I'm marketing to moms who are a lot of times on the go. They still want to have like, you know, healthy, sustainable food. Like what would be convenient for me? And you know, when I looked at that and I kind of created a buyer persona of like, hey, like, you know, what would I see as convenient, right? Like how often do I typically shop? You know, what does this look like and how does this fit into my life? To make it easy for me. And I feel like again, like another burden that a lot of farmers face is convenience. We are always going to be competing with convenience because the supermarket is right down the street and it's full of, you know, some good things, but mostly garbage. And, you know, but it's right there. It's right there. And, you know, so I think that in order to really like get ahead of that, like investing in like telling your story over and over and over again, like getting in front of people's faces so that they are now like compelled to say like, hey, like, and I want to buy from you, but I need it to be convenient. We've got to figure out that missing bridge to cross so that we can make our product accessible. So, so we, you know, we scaled pretty quickly for that reason.
Okay.
But it was something that we needed to do to sustain. So yeah,
No, and I want to touch on something that Paige said, ladies who are listening. She said a buyer's persona. If you haven't done one, I would strongly encourage that also. And, you know, you can, and just also enlightening, like not knowing. What was the class you took, Paige, where it was about preserved food?
sorry, I was on mute. Okay,
Oh,
it
no.
was with Five Mary's Farm. She has
Five Marys?
yeah, Five Mary's Farm. She's a pretty big producer out in California, but she teaches an extensive course on like marketing for farmers as well as like how to ship perishable products.
Okay.
And that was really like what got me because I was like, oh, I need this, and
Yeah.
it's a really great class. So it's pricey, but it's totally worth it.
Okay.
Because I was even hesitant, but it's like, you know, you gotta invest in your
You
education. If
have
you
to.
don't know things, it's really worth it to just.
Yeah.
And when you need to know how to learn how to do it fast,
Yeah.
that was it. I was like, I need to learn how to do this yesterday. So I
Yeah.
was really grateful for that because it was
Yeah.
it's helpful, like really, really helpful.
That's definitely where, you know, we are as we look at lavender and shipping it, and are we shipping it fresh? You know, these you know, there's just a lot of questions on, you know, but how can we, I always go back to how do we make this profitable so farmers are having a thriving wage? Like that's what it, you know, it always leans back to. And so we do have to invest in our education. And like I said, that business development part that I thought this when I first got into other farm organizations. I was like, I feel like I'm always the one talking about money, but you know, like it is. And once again, why I so appreciate you and Derek is like, you're very honest about that conversation that like, look, like, you know, we're bootstrapping, or, you know, the grants, you know, don't come through the way that you hope they will. You know, I've encouraged farmers to really learn about any social impact grants or organizations that donate on social impact. Like that has been where I found the most support, you know, and encouragement, financial, that didn't, you know, result in us taking out a loan. But that, like I said, that business development part and just knowing that, okay, this is how we can make money off of this product now. So, well, Paige, everyone, thank you so much for coming back. We are gonna wrap up, I did want to ask Paige a question about, with everything going on, just as a farm, as a mother, as a wife, just as a human being in this world, how do you take care of yourself? Like, what do you get to do for Paige just to little, woo-saw it a little bit, when, just, to pour into you. You're pouring out into so many people. And then even as you share your farm's journey, how do you pour into Paige?
Yeah, I know we laughed about this, but I was like, I do normally always have my eyebrows together. So I will.
I went and got my eyebrows done after that. I was like, when's the last time you had your eyebrows done, Zephrine? I was like, let me call her real quick and get this gathered.
I think it's really easy to lose yourself in all the things. And this is just, I mean, in motherhood and anything really, in work, in your marriage, like it's, relationships, like it's a thing. And so yeah, I don't know if it's always, because to be honest, I don't think I'm great as like having a scheduled regimen of like, I'm always doing these things. I think that it's really just finding moments throughout the day. So whether that's like journaling before bed or, really just a car drive, making deliveries, but at the same time, like doing that in silence because, and I do believe this is because of the season of life that I'm in. My mom always says, like, as women, we go through different seasons. It's just the way that we're created. So where the season that I'm in currently, it's crazy. Like we're building a business. We are growing our family. We still have little ones. And I think that may not always look, like I said, like as clean as like this, like, and I have 2 hours every week to do this and that. Like, no, like it's moments here or there. And I really am grateful for my husband because I feel like he really supports me in that, where I'm like, hey, I just need a minute, like, or a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Because that's real, So I would say, and also in the way that I'm taking care of myself with nutrition. I mean, and I know that that's a big deal because I know what it's like to not take care of yourself and then to like crash and burn. So all those other things can wait. But again, like one of the things that we're trying to really implement is a Sabbath, like not working on Sunday. Like we're not doing work on Sunday because as a family, we need this on so many levels. We just need to not talk about work. So yeah, we're constantly trying to teach that to ourselves, and it's not easy, but I think that that's something that as a business owner, you really do have to have at the forefront of your mind because your business will consume you. It just will. So yeah.
Well, Paige, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. I know that, you and I will continue to talk. I definitely, there's another person in Bunker. Her name is Charlinda, and she says, find like-hearted people, not like-minded. And so I definitely feel that I have found that in Grazed. I love your family story, and I am just honored and inspired to get to watch it grow. And I can't wait to see when your kids are like older, and I'll be like, I remember you were the one who was like peeking in when your mom went around, you came with the camera, and now you're an adult and everything. So I look forward to seeing that. Thank you for all the gems that you shared. I will follow up with a list with everyone of just some of the things that I caught that was said and that information. And so thanks again. And please follow their journey at Grazed. They're on Instagram. They do lives. And I just really, it brightens my day just to get to be out there with you guys, be out there sometimes. So have a great day.
Thank you.
Take care,
so
Paige.
much. Thank you. Thanks everyone for your patience. Yeah.
Thank you, Amy. It's all good.